We're back with the breaking news shaking the travel agency. Spirit Airlines now permanently grounding its yellow fleet after 34 years. The troubled budget airline that promised passengers less money, more go, stopped all operations this morning at 3 a.m. after a federal bailout fell through. Some are also seeing this as the industry's first casualty linked to the Iran war because of rising fuel costs. Now, passengers are scrambling to get their money back and rebook flights with all customer service operations shuttered. Customers now seeing this notification urging them not to go to the airport on Spirit's app. Spirit also let go of 17,000 employees. And here's a moment captured by air traffic control highlighting an exchange with a pilot for American Airlines speaking to a Spirit pilot as they prepared to land their final flight.
Hey, Spirit, from us guys at American, good luck to y'all. Sorry to hear what happened.
I guess this is it, probably the last revenue flight. This is it tonight.
Well, it was a pleasure working with you guys, and I wish you the best.
Same here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Joining us now, White House economic policy reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Brian Schwartz. Brian, this is a heartbreaking story. You've been following the weeks-long saga, administration officials, airline executives, and all the investment firms that were working to avoid this moment of travel chaos. How did Spirit Airlines fail?
Well, first of all, the sound you just played is really indicative of how heartbreaking a story this is. I mean, and it really does come down to a whole host of issues, many of which we probably can't get into in this segment. But the latest of what took place here really came about this week, where the Trump administration and the Spirit Airlines could not finalize what many would call a up to $500 million bailout. That's just did not materialize. And a few reasons for that. The number one, of course, is that the Trump administration, particularly Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, was trying to convince the bondholders, key players that would have to effectively authorize such a deal, to come on side, and they just couldn't do it. That's really what the message was to me from people familiar with this effort, that at the end of the day, Lutnick, the Spirit CEO, could not get enough of the bondholders to come on side to agree to this deal. And of course, that would, in part, is that the bondholders, of course, are going to make some money, likely money, if this thing heads to liquidation. And of course, that's what's on track to happen. And so that was really the key factor here as to why they could not get a deal done in time to save Spirit Airlines, among a whole host of other issues that took place in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brian, I spoke to a creditor this week, a person who worked on this specific case of a European creditor who was basically told that his bank would have to send pilots to pick up the planes that they had basically allowed Spirit Airlines to finance through them. And they're now left on the hook for millions of dollars. And they opposed the deal as well. They did not want to have anything to do with this bailout.
Yeah, listen, it's a tricky position to be in from a business perspective, right? I mean, if a business like a Spirit goes into liquidation and you are a debt or a bondholder of some sort, you are going to be first in line to getting some proceeds from that. Let's just be clear about that here. And as the president said, I believe it was yesterday, if Spirit and the Trump administration came ahead with the deal, the president did say the bondholders were not going to be a priority anymore. That was really a real clear signal that this was in deep trouble. And so that was the state of play. I agree. It's a very difficult position for a bondholder to be in. But of course, we can't imagine how Spirit employees, what they're going through, people who want to fly on through that airline. It's really a devastating moment for the company and the industry at large.
So, Brian, there has been some sort of political finger pointing recently about what caused this major stress for Spirit Airlines, which, of course, had been going through Chapter 11 bankruptcy, had filed for bankruptcy, I think, a couple of times within the span of a year, but then ultimately, is going through liquidation. We had, for example, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, this morning saying that the real problem here is that the DOJ effectively blocked the merger between Spirit Airlines and JetBlue, and that but for that, Spirit might have been able to survive. Is that your sense of things, that a combined company might have been able to weather these higher jet fuel costs and the other challenges that faced Spirit?
Well, two things can be true at once, right? You could make the case for, if the Biden administration didn't stand in the way of that JetBlue Spirit Airlines deal and the judge did not rule at the time against such a deal, that maybe Spirit would have had a better chance at getting through this. But again, let's tabling all the other issues that Spirit Airlines had. But that one issue could be true. But also simultaneously, what could be true is the jet fuel prices going up amid the Iran war. That has nothing to do with the Biden administration, and all airlines struggling to deal with that, particularly these budget airlines where they rely on less expensive jet fuel to survive. So, I'm not sure. We'll never know. I mean, if the JetBlue Spirit Airlines deal will send out Save Spirit Airlines. But again, that one thing could have been a reality, but that simultaneously of what the Trump administration is doing in Iran, and if that's impacted jet fuel prices, that element also could have really hurt Spirit Airlines. And the company has said that it hurt them in the end, and it really impacted their ability to operate.
Brian, really quickly, do you have any sense of what the recourse is for all of these passengers who are stranded not just today, but might have planned vacations months, weeks down the pipeline? Are they going to get any of their money back?
I believe Spirit Airlines has said there's going to be some sort of refund process. And of course, the Trump administration has also announced that they are working with the other airlines to cap ticket fees, likely at a lower rate than usual, for the Spirit Airlines passengers that need to turn to other airlines to get to where they're going. That's the state of play today. But of course, there are also other questions around the other budget airlines. And this is something we've also reported on at the Wall Street Journal, where there have been requests from the other budget airlines, like a Frontier, for a combined $2.5 billion bailout. And Sean Duffy today, notably, and this was the news, in my view, from that press conference, when he said he does not believe there should be any movement toward that either. So I don't know if this is over yet. I mean, I think there's something we really got to keep an eye on. If, in fact, the jet fuel prices was one of the reasons the Spirit Airlines shut down, what's stopping the other airlines from struggling in that regard as well, particularly as they're known to have, cheaper tickets and people wanting to go to them for easier travel from a budget perspective? What's stopping the higher jet fuel prices, as it did for Spirit, impacting those airlines? And where is the Trump administration going to land with those companies going forward? That's something really to keep an eye on.
We will definitely be watching that. Brian Schwartz, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.